And we're back, another edition Stripe Show podcast. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day. Week 1 of the NFL is in the books. And, I've been reading up on Twitter, listening to a little radio. And let me tell you something. There's some Monday quarterbacking going on, folks. It's 1 week. If your team didn't win, it's okay. It's a long season. Let it play out. Of course, my Seahawks did, though, so I'm already getting my tickets for the Super Bowl. But anyway, we're not talking about football. We're talking about golf and a little 1 week vacation in between last season and now new season, because this week it's the Fortinet Championship Silverado, the start of the 2021-2022 season. The race, the season-long race for the FedEx Cup starts this week. And to help me break that down, and of course, a little event called the Ryder Cup. You know his face, you hear his voice, lead anchor for Golf Channel, Rich Lerner. Rich, thank you for jumping on. I appreciate it.
Travis, thanks for having me on. I'm here in one of the box-filled rooms in Wilton, Connecticut. We still haven't fully unpacked from the move from Florida. I love modern media. I have my phone leaning against a box right here, and I'm on the edge of a sofa that's covered in a sheet. Not sure where this thing's going, but here we are, ready to hash it all out.
This is welcome to my world, Rich. This is how we do it here on the Stripe Show. And I got to ask you, did you enjoy your 1 week off in between season? Your 1 week vacation from covering last season now to flipping the switch and let's get ready for the new season.
Yeah, you just take a little bit of a breath, but maybe 2 or 3 days into the off week, I started thinking and writing about the Ryder Cup. I think it's a blessing and a curse for the game. If you love the game, you always want to be able to check on a Thursday or a Saturday. You want to check on a leaderboard. You want to have the option to go watch a little golf, even mixed in with a football. Blessing there, curse because from a golfer standpoint, they really don't get much of an off season. I mean, they'll build it in. The top players post Ryder Cup will take some time. This portion of the year, this early part of the new season is important for guys who are, say, graduating, just coming off the Corn Ferry Tour, or they want to get a head start and put some points in the bank in hopes of maybe making the Tour Championship or making the playoffs later in 2022.
Yeah, certainly the fall season counts more now. We see players playing. I mean, Jon Rahm is playing this week. Stuart Sink won this event last year, certainly went a long ways. He added a second win that helped him, get to Atlanta at the end of the year. I want to ask you, though, before we spend all of our time on the Ryder Cup, because that is the big event here we know coming up, I want to ask you about how you think the playoffs are going, the FedEx Cup playoffs. This is 15 years now we've seen this. Amazing. Yeah. 15 years this has been going. Lots of changes over the years, not so much as of late, although it did go from 4 events to 3 events. Finau gets the big win at the FedEx St. Jude. Cantlay, of course, wins the BMW championship and then hangs on to win the overall Tour championship. The Tour's done a nice job positioning it in August. It is the event attraction. There's nothing else around it. It's going to get done before the NFL. Do you like it? Do you think it's now there's an identity there now with this season-long race? And do you like the staggered start, at the Tour championship? It seems like half like it, half don't. Where do you stand with the playoffs after 15 years?
I mean, look, I think it's better than where they were, say in 2005, 2006, when the Tour Championship was sort of an afterthought. And there's more juice to these playoffs. The BMW was one of the best events I've seen in a long, long time. Mm-hmm. The crowds were frothy. They were going bananas. There's one we'll remember for a long time with Cantlay making all those putts and out slugging Bryson DeChambeau. I thought the Northern Trust at Liberty National was a good one, even through all the weather delays. That was a good tournament. I'm not a huge fan of the staggered start. I don't particularly have an answer or a good option. I just find it odd. And I understand why they did it, because the points, you was my buddy Steve Sands at the grease board, tabulating like an accountant from a big firm. That sort of confused people, and it just didn't quite feel right. If this is your Super Bowl, to be tabulating points on a grease board. So there had to be a way to reward, the FedEx Cup points leader to that a juncture of the season right up until the finale. But Rahm and Kevin Na tied for the low aggregate at East Lake. Shot, I think it was, what was it, 14 under, and Patrick Cantlay, I think, shot 11 under. That just doesn't quite feel right.
Yeah,
I understand. This is a season-long race, so that doesn't especially sit well with me. But I don't. Some people have thrown out a match play option. I'm open to other ideas. I think it's better than where they were, and I do think it certainly it has the attention of the players. These playoffs, principally because the money's so enormous and it's going to get bigger. And I do think it is a noteworthy achievement to have won the FedEx Cup title, and I understand why the tour has gone all in the way that they have. This is an umbrella sponsor. FedEx sinks a lot of money into this. It's more than $500 million. Not every league is fortunate enough to have or good enough to have an umbrella sponsor. The LPGA would love to have I guess they do the race of the CME Globe, so there has to be some bang for the buck here, I think the playoffs are good. I think August is actually a difficult month. While they do have the stage to themselves, they're not running up against professional football. It's a month typically where people have checked out. They're not watching as much television. They're at the beach. They're on vacation. They're getting ready for school. I don't think the ratings were through the roof. But that said, people aren't watching traditional ways. It isn't just the big box experience. It's right here. It's you can be at the beach and still follow the golf. So I think the playoffs are good. I would guess they're looking for ways to improve, and I would bet they're still sitting around the table asking themselves, is this staggered start the best we can do, or is there another format we want to look at? When you don't have the 100% approval of even your number one player in the world, Jon Rahm, and some others who sort of went along with it because that's the way it is, didn't wholeheartedly put their stamp on it. Then you have to continue to have the discussions that I'm guessing they're having. But I like the playoffs, and they look. The tour is constantly looking for ways to elevate their own properties beyond the majors, which they do not own. People forget why do they continue to push the players and the FedEx Cup and the President's Cup? Because those are properties that they control and they own. They don't control or own the Masters, the U.S. Open, the PGA Championship, the Ryder Cup, the Open Championship. The other very valuable, most valuable properties in the sport. So it's in their interest, and I don't blame them. It's in their interest, in the interest of what they would call their constituents, their players, to continue to push those properties, the players, the FedEx Cup, and the President's Cup. It's a business, as they would say, and I think they've done they've made some good moves. It's not perfect, and I think they'll continue to refine it. And they have to obviously keep an eye on the threat, from that upstart proposed Saudi league. So, the players are sitting in a good position. New television contract means much more money coming into the sport, possible threat from an outside agency, in this case, the Saudis, spurring their own leadership, their own to figure out ways to grow their own business and put more money in the pockets of the top players. And I think, within, I would say, what are we, 2021? By 2025, I think, the leading money winner on the PGA Tour, all in with FedEx Cup money and regular season earnings, will be probably north of $40 million.
Wow.
It'll start to look like money that you see in the NBA. And I think the tour wants that. They've long wanted their athletes. And you'll notice that the commissioner refers to his players not as golfers or as players, but as athletes. And they want their athletes to be considered and evaluated in the same light, the same realm as the great athletes from the other sports, and that means those enormous payouts and contracts. That may seem a little may seem a little absurd and maybe overstuffed, 40 million plus for a golfer, but that's what the market, it appears, is going to bear in just a few years' time.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot of money, right? 40 million.
Is, but Travis, every time I go play golf, I shake my head at how hard this sport is.
Oh man,
and they're a you work with them. They're just a blessed few on this planet who know how to do it. It being put club on ball consistently the right way over and over again, and it's skill, and a lot of people want to watch it, and so go get it. It's a great time to be a professional golfer.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting because it segues into all that, by the way, is job security. We call that in the instruction industry, and there's plenty of it, thankfully, because you'll never be unemployed if you know what you're doing in teaching, because the game's hard. So they need your services to get better. But the segue here is, all of this, and with Tiger, on the sidelines, and over the last 6 or 7 years, we know Tiger is the needle. He's it, man. No one does what Tiger does to viewership coming on. And of course, Tiger, he's been sidelined. We're all hoping he comes back. We don't know if he will, if he does, how much time we have with Tiger playing at the elite level. He's got a lot going on with his body, and we know that. And we've seen Tiger over the years. We've seen bouts where he wasn't playing. And I can remember to myself, like, man, I'm concerned about the sport without Tiger. What's it going to look like? I know there's other names and this and that, but I always had a little bit of a concern. This year, Rich, I feel like the sport's going to be just fine when Tiger does decide not to play. There are so many great things happening with the sport that you just beautifully recognize with the FedEx and the money. But, Jon Rahm, #1 player in the world, his worldwide appeal. Bryson is polarizing, and people love to talk about him. The saga with Brooks, call it what it is. Jordan Spieth has come back now, playing great again. There's a lot of great players, great names, great personalities worldwide. The Ryder Cup will add gasoline to all of that next week. The sport's in a great spot when Tiger does decide to pack it up. And God forbid, I hope he comes back, because he will just take it to another level next year. But we're in a good spot, Rich, with the game, aren't we?
I think we are. I mean, we'll never, I won't say never, but it's highly unlikely to ever approach Tiger Mania again. Ratings that were comparable to other sports. Figure the most reliably mind-blowing I've ever seen in any sport. I mean, every time he pegged it, he did something outrageous. He blew your mind. I don't think we're seeing that. That gather around the television galvanizing force. It does not. That person does not exist in that I can see on the radar or currently in our sport. We do have a lot of, I think, compelling figures. Are they the kind that would get a casual sports viewer to the television set? I'm not sure. But if you like golf, then you like what we have right now. And I think the sport is in a good position. I think obviously we're one of the few entities that, along with the Amazons of the world, that it came out of the pandemic in reasonably good shape. And I hate to just talk about it in such a horrific event in sort of business terms, but it isn't just about the business. People found comfort and joy in an otherwise grim period on the golf course recreationally. And I think that can have a positive impact on the professional game if you turn, golfers into golf fans on the professional level. Look, as for Tiger, I have number one, hopes that he'll be well again, well enough to walk without a lot of pain, well enough to play with his children, well enough to enjoy some quality of life. I have very low expectations for any sort of a big triumphant comeback. Could he play again? That's hard. I don't know. I've not heard a whole lot about his recovery. I just know he's going to be 46 years old at the end of this year, late December. And when you're 46 and your body's taken the kind of punishment Tiger's has taken, and you're asking to put pressure on that ankle in a forceful swing and walk 90 holes in a week with the practice rounds and maybe a little bit of a pro-am, and then 72 holes if you make the cut. That's a big ask. Obviously, if anybody could do it, it's Tiger, given his tremendous will. But again, I hope Tiger is able to get healthy spiritually, physically, and in every way. I think there's nothing left for Tiger to prove. I think the Masters of 2019 was it. Would we all like to see something more? Of course we would. But do we need to he's proven it over and over to us that he's the greatest player, very likely ever. And that's a debate we can all have with Nicklaus. I think a couple of ways to look at that. One is that nobody's ever played the game at that level in the history of the sport. The way Tiger played it for a 10-year period, say from 97 through with the 08 U.S. Open, and then even after that he had a great run. Nobody's ever won as prolifically or by as wide margins as Tiger did. Nicklaus won more majors, and that was always Tiger's benchmark for greatness. And I think that in that respect, you could say that over the long haul, Jack took better care of his body, his mind, and his spirit. We all know about Tiger's struggles through the years, but he dealt with a level of fame, had a much different upbringing than did Jack. It's a deep discussion. Yeah. But Tiger won 23% of his career starts. Jack was at, I want to say 12%. It's a big gap. Now Jack, obviously gave some ground as he competed into his 50s, and Tiger isn't there yet. But you can make the Hall of Fame having won 3-4% of your career starts. Davis Love the third, Freddie Couples are in that 2-3% category. So if 3% is Hall of Fame, what's 23%? He's a 450 lifetime hitter.
Right.
And so anyway, that's Tiger. And then with respect to the other stars, yeah, I mean, I love John Rahm. I like how physical he is. I like his intensity. I think he's clutch. One barometer that I use is real simple, because it's the reason that I watch sports, love sports, and I think a lot of people are on the same page. Who's clutch? Who can you count on the 71st hole, 72nd hole? And I think we have 3, 4, 5 guys already who demonstrated they're clutch. Rahm has a knack for the big putt late in the game, with a couple of fist pumps for good measure, a couple of uppercuts. Jordan Spieth has proven he's clutch, big stones. I think Koepka's been there and done it in the last couple of years, but Koepka's proven he's clutch. Morikawa, I think you can say is clutch. So there, and we probably have, if you look at the current group of young players, you probably have a minimum of 5 guys that are headed to the Hall of Fame someday, maybe more. Take a look. But you have some that still have a chance to get to that rarefied territory of 6, 7 major championships won. Koepka's 31 with 4 majors. He needs to kind of recharge. McIlroy's 32 now with 4 majors, hasn't won one in 7 years. He needs to kind of get it going again, but he could with a good a move here. I know people doubt that. I think Rahm is absolutely capable of going on a tear and picking off 3 majors over a 2-year period. So I think and Spieth as well. If Jordan, and I think Jordan is close to being all the way back. I mean, obviously this year he brought back the old magic, and that was might have been the story, one of the 2 or 3 biggest stories of this past season. So there 4 or 5 guys who have a chance to get to 4, 5, 6 majors if things break their way, and it gets more difficult, because I do agree with the sort of consensus that it is deeper than it's ever been, and that goes to the money. That goes to the money that's available in any profession. When you put up the kind of money they're playing for, it brings out all the sharks, man. I mean, everybody wants a piece of it. It gets harder and harder to do.
Well, it's just going to get deeper too, because I heard Xander make the comment that these graduates that this year are coming from the Korn Ferry Tour, it's the best class yet. So it's just getting deeper, and you're going to see a lot of these players at the Fortinet Championship, like Will Zalatoris, who now is a PGA member, and we saw what he did last year when he came out, and he wasn't even, at least from a finish standpoint, wasn't the most impressive player on the Korn Ferry Tour when he was out there. So there's just so many more coming, and
they're from everywhere. Travis,
what's that?
They're coming from everywhere.
Everywhere.
Go back to what I said. There's never been a better time to be a professional golfer, and there are more places around the world now where you can go as a young professional to try to master the art and science of putting a 72-hole score on the board, and that is what it's all about. So you can go to the Form Tour, I guess used to be and then there's the Mackenzie Tour. They've been changing names, but so that's in Canada. There's the PGA Tour Latino America. There's the Korn Ferry Tour. There's the Australasian Tour. There's the Asian Tour. There's the Sunshine Tour in South Africa. The European Tour. There's the Challenge Tour, where Brooks Koepka cut his teeth. I mean, there are just so many places now to go, and figure it out and earn a buck.
Yep.
And so by the time they arrive at the PGA Tour, if they're good enough to get there, the spotlight's a little more intense. There's greater money and there's greater competition. But in the end, for that player, it is what it had been. It's putting a 72-hole score on the board, and so many places to earn a living and to master the craft more so than ever before. And that's why it's just more competitive than it's ever been.
Yeah, I can remember earlier this year when Garrick Hago came over, and I had been watching him on the European Tour, and I was like, man, I'm really excited to see how he stacks up over here, because he's so impressive on the European Tour. And the same with Guido Migliozzi and Wilco Niederbar, and like these guys you watch on the European Tour, young players, and I'm like, here comes Hago's going to come over and play, and he wins. And it was like, a lot of people were surprised. In my mind, I'm like, I'm really not that surprised. I've been watching him in the morning. He's won 3 times on the European Tour at the age of 24. Exactly. And he comes over here and just keeps it going. He's like, ball, club, off we go. You know, Guido.
Yeah.
Brilliant player. The Italian finishes 4th at the U.S. Open. And
right.
It's just amazing stuff to watch. All right. We got to get to the Ryder Cup here. Those guys didn't make the Ryder Cup this year, but I have a feeling they'll be on the team here in years to come for sure. But the Americans, Rich, there's the saying in other sports, this game means more than the others, right? This is a big game, and we all know they add up, and every game is worth the same. But there's those games that just feel like they mean more than others. And every Ryder Cup's important, but this one just feels huge. The Solheim Cup, the Europeans win. The Americans, huge favorite on paper. We go to the men here, the Ryder Cup. They've struggled, lost 9 of the last 12, were embarrassed really 3 years ago in France. And now they're on their home surface. On paper, it's not even close on paper when you look at it in world rankings and for what that's worth. So here's the picks. We know Stricker. We know Morikawa, DJ, DeChambeau, Koepka, Thomas, Cantlay. They were locks. Stricker picks Finau, Schauffele, Spieth, English, Berger, Scheffler. The only one that was a bit of a surprise to me was Scheffler. Hasn't won yet. We know he's a wonderful driver of the ball. We know he has a rapport with Spieth, which I'll get to, an alternate shot, which I think we will see. I would have picked Sam Burns over Scotty Scheffler. I've been criticized by my listeners multiple times. I'm a Sam Burns homer. So I'll go with you there, but I just think Burns' game is better. But Scheffler is the pick. Any of the 6 a surprise to you, or is that kind of how you had it lined up for you, Team USA?
I mean, I had 11 that I felt were locks. Only the Scheffler pick I thought was sort of up for grabs, and I would have been, I would have been comfortable with Sam Burns. I think Burns statistically shows out really well, makes a lot of birdies, had a good sort of breakthrough year. I think he competes. He's long enough. Would have, I think, fit the golf course. And I think you could have made a case as well for Webb Simpson, veteran. Simpson had been playing actually really well. I think his last 12 rounds, he didn't make Tour Championship, but it was 12 or 16 rounds prior to Atlanta. He averaged 66 and change. But not an especially good fit for the big ballpark that is Whistling Straits. So I think he has the 12 that he wants, and I think Scheffler, they probably ran. I'm sure they ran all the numbers, and they checked with the guts of the team, which would be Spieth, Thomas, Schauffele, those guys. And they all like Scotty Scheffler. And Scheffler made the finals of the match play for what that's worth back in Austin, where he went to school. He makes birdies and he competes. So I think, this is a crucial Ryder Cup for the United States. I mean, if they don't win, it's we know what's coming. There'll be some blame will be probably put at the feet of the older guard that is still in charge. Though they're not playing, and we sort of have a clean slate in terms of the players, the Mickelson, Furyk, Stricker, Zach Johnson group that will run the team room, they still have influence. They still have the ear of the players. So if for whatever reason they don't perform, I think some blame will be levied there. I'm just sort of jumping ahead here.
Yeah.
It will mean the task force that was created after the debacle at Glen Eagles in 2014, where Mickelson got into it with Tom Watson. The task force will have been a failure because they will have gone 1-2. The win in 2016 in Minnesota, as you called it, the embarrassment, the disaster in Paris on a dozen levels, and whatever, presumably, if it doesn't go well here. Now, that's kind of the grim, pessimistic view. Here we are again, and you've got a United States team that is an enormous favorite. Average world rank of the 12 U.S. players is 9. It's the first time it's ever been under 10. In fact, it's like 8.92. They have 8 of the top 10 players in the world. It's the strongest team they've ever fielded on paper. The European team average world rank is 30. They have just one player in the top 10 of the world. That's world number 1, Jon Rahm. So you on top of that, they're playing at home. And that partisan, hypercharged atmosphere is enormous at an event like the Ryder Cup. The big issue for the United States and for any team that's playing as a heavy home favorite is you have that expectation that's weighing on you. You should win. Anytime you put an athlete or a team in that situation where the whole world is saying you should win, it opens the possibility that they could be tight. And I remember asking Jim Furyk after the 06 Ryder Cup in Ireland, where they got hammered. Why don't you guys perform in the Ryder Cup? And he said, it's hard to put a finger on. We just seem to play tight. Now, that's a long time ago. That's 15 years ago. This is a whole new group here. And they seem to like each other for the most part. Right? I know we've got the Brooks-Bryson issue. They seem to like each other. They don't have the scar tissue for the most part. These are guys who played well under pressure for the most part. But they're in against a group of guys who know what they're doing. And while this European team, I don't think is especially strong on paper, they can put out some formidable pairings. And you can begin to make a case for a European win. I think that the question will be, what do they get out of Hatton, Fleetwood, Fitzpatrick, Westwood, Wiesberger, and Poulter? Sort of those 6. I think you've got Rahm, Garcia, McIlroy, Lowry, Casey, Hovland. Those 6 to me, like you could go with the sort of the old Euro method of putting out some stalwart teams, right? Olazabal and Ballesteros, so Woosnam and Woosnam, Faldo, Langer, Montgomery, those where you ride your horses, and they have some horses to ride. And so I would think like Rahm's going to go all 5. He'll be a problem for the U.S. I think Rory probably will go 5, maybe 4. Depends how he's playing, how he feels. I think there's a case to be made for Hovland going minimum of 4. Same thing with Casey, who's really good. And then from there they'll mix and match and see who's playing well. I don't think you'll see, for example, I'm not sure you'll see Westwood in foursomes. I think Harrington knows what he's doing, and they can play freely, and they have a great history of as they say in Europe, punching above their weight. And as underdogs on the road, they'll play that card. They always do. And all the pressure will be on the United States, and U.S. favorites, but they've not been good at the Ryder Cup, to say the least.
Well, Westwood Garcia have been a good pairing over the years. It'd be interesting to see if they go there. I think the only surprise they only had 3 picks. I mean, no one's surprised with Poulter and Garcia. The only surprise was perhaps Lowry over Rose.
I like Lowry though, and I think Lowry, makes him up with Rory. That would be a really strong team.
Yeah, I agree.
Lowry's a good ball striker. I think he's proven himself in some big spots, the Open, a WGC. I'm a Lowry fan. I think he's good in the team room. He's got a good way about him. Yeah, I like Lowry.
Yeah, I agree. I think this alternate shot, Rich, I think it's as simple as that. If the Americans split alternate shot, they win. And they're just not very good at alternate shot. We're just not good at it.
Right.
And you
it's
saw
it. Format. I mean, it's funky
format,
man.
You saw it in the women too. It was 3.5 to a half Friday morning. And that was it. That was the difference. I mean, from there on, they whittled their way back and just couldn't get all the way back. But the alternate shot was the difference in the women's. And in the men's game, I just feel like that Friday morning, we come out, all right, it's 2-2. Off we go. Like, I think it's going to be very difficult with the way that course is going to be set up. And this golf course is enormous. It is big time golf course. Like, we're looking at, I'm going to predict 7,800 yards. I think they can play 77, 78.
This is going to be set up for the U.S. to swing away.
It is. And you know what's interesting, Rich, about the course? There's a lot of holes like 18 where the way that the fairway's contoured, it's like one of those risk reward where you can cut off more if you can carry it 310, right? Which most of our guys can. So hit it over there 310, where the guys that can't are going to have to hit it over here. So it's, there's going to be a big gap in some of those holes. Now, not all of them are like that, but there's a fair amount where you can cut off if you can carry the ball a long ways.
Right.
I've said, look, I'd be like, soak that golf course, make the fairways as wide as you can, no rough, put the flag in the middle, off we go. Just keep it simple. Just keep it simple and let the guys cut it. Fairways play as wide as they can. Let's just keep it in the middle of the green. Let's not tuck it where now you got to hit this into it and that you bring open. Like, just play to your length, put it in the middle. Putts are simple. Off we go. Here's my alternate shot. Tell me if you agree. Here's what I'm sending the Stricker. I'm putting it in the mail today.
Go ahead.
I don't know if he'll get it, but anyway. I think Scheffler is going to be matched up with Spieth, alternate shot. I think that's part of the strategy here. They've played a lot of golf together. It makes sense. I think those guys are going to play together. I know everyone's like big on Xander and Cantlay. I think I'd put JT with Cantlay. Or I'm sorry, I think I'd put JT with Xander. I like Justin Thomas with Xander, and I like Cantlay with Morikawa. I like those two together, and I also like as my fourth, Harris English and Daniel Berger. There it is in the mail today.
I like them all,
Stricker.
Right? So you're sitting Koepka because we're not sure he's 100%. You don't want to wear him out, right? You'll play him, but you don't want to wear him out.
I need Koepka in best ball.
Bryson because you don't like you wouldn't want Bryson in an alternate because his chipping is a little suspect. I don't know. It'd be nice to have 340 off the tee in alternate shot, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would, but I'm just.
Who do you pair Bryson with, by the way?
I don't know. I guess that's probably the answer. Bryson I don't know. Are you going to have a golf ball issue? Now that's playing in Bryson's head. That emotional instability, things start going down. Bryson can get internal, like the mojo. I worry about that. I don't want.
Where's Tony Finau? I don't see Tony Finau. I like to have Tony Finau's tee ball in alternate shot.
I need Finau. Well, you got to sit somebody. right? So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm looking for chemistry here, and perhaps I'm going a little bit against the exact world golf ranking and more towards who can complement one another with their style of play, which is what
Right.
the Europeans do so well. I mean, the
No, I mean, I think
Francisco
you're
Molinaro,
bringing,
Tommy Fleetwood, those guys
right.
don't hit it far at all, and yet they just wear you out. You know, I mean, they're just so complementary to one another. So that's the way I was looking at it. I get a little worried with Finau around the greens. I love Finau in 4-ball. I would put Finau with Koepka both days. Best ball, off you go. Koepka, the calming, overconfident player, and Finau just feeling like I can just fall out of bed and make 7 birdies and play loose.
Right. No, I mean, it's hard to argue with any of the pairings you put together. I mean, Molinari Fleetwood was perfect for the golf course in Paris. It was all about ball control over there. This is a different park here. And but no, I mean, hard to argue. That's the thing. The United States almost has an embarrassment of riches, right? I mean, how can you go wrong with, you know, who's going to argue with Morikawa Cantlay as a team, or, you know, take your pick.
Right.
You can. I think he has a lot of options, and he can go. You know, sort of ball control, put immense pressure on the other team by keeping, you know, just wearing you out. You know, with kind of a Cantlay Schauffele pairing, or he can just, you know, hammer you with power.
Mm-hmm.
He has the ability to go a lot of different ways.
Well, this one feels really big. This one does.
Yeah,
it's a must win. I'm going to
does.
say it. It's a must win situation. We have to win.
Yeah.
You make a good point though. When you're expected to win, that's an added pressure, and it's just different. It's like, it's almost like playing
we're
for
questioning. I don't expect 12 golfers to solve the country's problems, but you know, we are asking ourselves, can America come together?
Yeah.
Can America win? It's been a hard road here, and even something as simple as a golf competition, you know, you hope they can come together, and they'll be asked. But I think one other factor here is, you know, what will the sort of the tone be the first 3-4 days, and how will they handle media? Right. I mean, every player is going to be asked about the team room in Brooks and Bryson.
Yep.
They'll have to, you know, sort of be on point there, and I'm sure Stricker will review messaging with his team, and then I'm curious how they're going to handle COVID and the inevitable questions that are going to come. Are you vaccinated? And I don't have the answer. You know, I don't know how many are vaccinated, what their plan is. Are they even going to have a gala? I'm betting they wouldn't go. I know Stricker told me a week ago they plan to keep a very tight bubble. This will sort of harken back to like a year ago. Again, he wouldn't reveal who's vaccinated, who's not. But that's an element that could creep in and become sort of a dominant theme. I'm sure the press will push for those answers. And so, you know, those are always little sort of side issues that you keep an eye on the week of a Ryder Cup, and sometimes they can get away from a captain. And I always, you know, I'm curious how the captains handle press. You know, McGinley was great at it. The Europeans have tended to be better at it than the U.S. captains in the past. So I think Stricker is honest and earnest as the day is long. And I think the early reviews have been good. He's kind of no nonsense. He knows what he wants. He's playing at home in Wisconsin. He's obviously going to have tremendous support. But yeah, you keep coming back to everything sort of lining up for the United States. And to your point, if they don't, well, what then? Right. So this is a crucial Ryder Cup. I agree for the United States. I mean,
Yep.
and again, that means Europe will likely play with some freedom because they've won 7 of the last, since the turn of the new century, they've won 7 of 9.
Yep. Here's how we guarantee a win. I'm gonna let you go because I'm gonna let you get unpacked there. A guaranteed win is day one. Brooks and Bryson stand up and they hug it out. And they just hug it out and like, let's go win this thing. Those guys would run through the wall. Off we go.
Right. I mean, I've heard that that idea. Really what they should do is on the first day, have Brooks and Bryson play a practice round together. But that's likely not going to happen because we're assuming they're going to be in these pods, right? Of 4-man pods, and that is not happening. Brooks and Bryson in the same group, but that would be kind of a cool thing. Even if say they're on the range or practice putting green, just some show of unity.
Yes,
I've been told, Brooks has said, for the team, for the week, he's willing to do whatever it takes, but that he's not going to offer an olive branch, that the animosity, at least on his part, is really just doesn't like Bryson. But that said, there have been rock and roll bands, I'm guessing through the years, that haven't loved one another, that have made great music together. There have been countless championship teams in every sport that have had some personality issues that maybe we never knew about, that won it all. You can do it. And it's time to let's grow up, fellas. You're playing for something bigger than yourselves here. You're playing for your country. Let's put it aside and let's go do the job that needs to be done.
I'm in.
So
I'm in.
Yeah,
Rich, I appreciate it.
Be fun.
Love listening to you talk. Big fan. Live from on Golf Channel. Can't wait to watch it from the Ryder Cup. It'll be a great week, and I'll be glued to my TV. So appreciate you coming on the
Travis,
pod, and maybe we'll do it again next year.
I would love to. Congrats on all your success. I badly need a lesson. I'm working my way. I'm working my way through some deep-seated issues. Can I share something with you real quickly? This is. I'm now that I'm putting it out in the golf universe, I'm sure to be cursed, because every time you say you, as a golfer, you say, "Hey, I found something," the very next day you find your opening tee shot in a bush. Right? When you tell all your buddies, "Hey, I found it," and then you find your tee ball in a bush because you just threw it out there, and the golf gods don't like arrogance. Anyway, getting a little older now. I've had some putting yips. Like really scary, like total dread. The lag putt of 30 feet, and I push it up to 3 feet. I'm like in a bit of a panic, and the results have been horrific. I wish it on no one. And I tried something that I'd seen, I've seen Spieth do it and Garcia, not because they have the yips. I just think it works for them, but I closed my eyes just before takeaway from 3 to 6 feet, and absolutely bizarre free swinging.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, explain that to me. I know there's a reason behind it. You're not as whole conscious, right?
Yep.
I found that bizarre. I mean, I'm happy for the moment. Now that I've thrown it out there, I'm sure it'll come back to bite me. But that, I'm just sharing that with you and your audience because I'm fascinated by it. I was trying anything and everything, and this one opened.
Yeah, it works. I mean, it works. It takes you it flips a switch. There's no history. There's no anticipation of the stroke or the hole. And it's a complete free will for the brain to just let it go and be instinctive, right? Rather than anticipate the outcome or the stroke or impact that makes you, flinch. And I mean, Sergio, I don't think he had the yips, but he's closed his eyes. Spieth looking at the hole. Even like looking like even between the hole and the ball can help too. So just kind of looking, in a spot there, just getting off. Yeah, I think it's great. It makes complete sense, and I'd run with it.